Hello. And guess what? We're back in the Avalon Orchard. It's very different to how it was even a short while ago. We're absolutely surrounded by apple blossom, and it's glorious, isn't it?
Yes, beautiful.
And we've reached a point now on the wheel. We're almost at the southeastern point where Beltane happens. We're actually just a couple of 3 days away from Beltane, aren't we, today? And we're here to talk to you about the rune Mannaz. Now, Mannaz started, the power of this runic half month started on the 14th of April and runs through to the 28th, which is actually today.
Yeah.
We've just managed to get in before this runic half month ends. And the peak of Mannaz is the 21st of April. So Mannaz is its Germanic name. In Anglo-Saxon it's Man, and in Old Norse it's Marda. I've probably pronounced that completely wrong, but as you probably guessed, this rune means man. So now in old Germanic languages, man doesn't mean man as it does nowadays. It basically means humanity. So in Anglo-Saxon, a man would have been called a weopined man, and a woman would have been called a wif man. So obviously that's where wife comes from. It didn't mean the same thing as it does now, but man basically meant a human being. So this is the rune of humanity. So Tacitus is actually the only person to have mentioned a god whose name was Mannaz, and he was said to be the son of Tuisto, who you may recall we mentioned back when we were talking about the rune Tiwaz. That's another name for the god Tyr, or Chu, or Tig, or Tiwaz, whatever you want to call him. But as you know, he is an ancient god of the sky, very ancient. And so Mannaz was said to be his son, and he had 3 sons who were said to have been the progenitors of 3 of the Germanic tribes. So we have the Ingavones, the Herminones, they're probably pronouncing these completely wrong, but you get the idea, and the Istvaones. So we can see here that we have a connection between man, humanity, and divinity. And actually it's interesting that in Hinduism there is a mention of somebody called Manu, who is said to be the first man, or the archetypal man and the progenitor of humanity. And the Sanskrit word for humanity actually means of Manu, or children of Manu. So again, you can see this is a very ancient word, a very ancient concept, which is for the Indo-European tribes and goes back a long way. So in the Rigsfula, in the Eddas, we hear a story about the god Heimdall, and Snorri called him the White God. He's known as the Watchman. He is the guarder of the Bifrost Bridge. And the story tells us about how he took on the name Rig and went down to Midgard to walk amongst men. And he came to a house, a very poor house with a very poor couple. And their names were, I probably pronounced this wrong again, I'm not doing so great on pronunciation today, there's a few difficult ones. A, who means great-grandfather, and Edda, means great-grandmother. Obviously that's where the word Edda comes from. And he slept between the couple for 3 nights before leaving, and 9 months later Edda gave birth to a son who they named Thrall, and he went on to be the progenitor of the class of serfs, kind of the lowest rank within the community. He then went to another house, I suppose these days we'd probably call it like a middle class house, and he met Afi, which means grandfather, and Amma, which means grandmother. And again, the same thing, 9 months later, Amma gave birth to a son named Carl, who means farmer or freeman, and he then went on to create the class of farmers or freemen. And then he came to a rather noble house, and there he met Father, which, as you can guess, means father, and Mother, which means mother. And same story, 9 months later, a son was born called Jarl, which is Earl in Old Norse. So you can see there that there's a story in the Rig Thula about how Heimdall, in the form of Rig, basically was the progenitor of these different classes of people. So here again we can see the connection between divinity and man. We can also see that this rune is connected with community as well. So the word man actually comes from the same Indo-European word as both mind and moon, which isn't surprising. You think Mani, obviously the name that the Old Norse used for the moon. So here we're talking about the mind, but we're not talking about intellect, we're talking about the divine mind. So the moon obviously reflects the light of the sun, and as we know, Sewol, the name for Sowilo, means soul. So here we see that the sun represents the divine soul, and the mind is able to reflect that. So this is the divine mind that sets man, humanity, apart from the animals. And obviously the previous rune was Ewaz, and was the rune of the animal kingdom. So in Old Norse, dwarves were basically, they weren't little short people, like in Lord of the Rings. Mine's gone. Yeah, so they were basically the same as here comes our obligatory plane. Haven't had that for a while, have we? No. They're basically the same as humans, but they didn't have that connection to the divine mind. They were very base, kind of animal natures. So the difference that man has is that we are able to connect with that divine mind. So this is a rune about being a balanced human, about being in connection with and understanding your more base emotions and being able to control them, to be able to understand the unconscious urges and the subconscious urges you have, and to be balanced, and to be able to reflect that divine mind and connect with divinity. So if we have a look at the shape of the rune, let me get a bit closer. So what we can see here is it basically looks like Gabo, which we obviously spoke about quite a while ago, which can be about the connection with divinity, but it's confined. Now I like to look at this as being confined within our orlog. Now, I've previously described orlog as being like the loom on which the threads of weird are woven. So here, what you can see is effectively what looks like Gabo confined by the orlog. So this can be about fulfilling your orlog, your destiny, your highest purpose, through working to understand those more base emotions and control them, and being able to connect with that divine mind. You are able to really fulfill your highest plan that you were given when you were put on this earth. And this rune can be about really being the person you're meant to be, and really doing the things in life that you were put here to do. And I find it kind of quite, it's not, this often happens to us, doesn't it? Today, which is probably why I'm a bit stressed, I've got the opening of an art exhibition. So, this is happening on the last day of Mannaz, and, I obviously feel as an artist that is kind of one of my sole purpose, to create art. So it's kind of funny how it all ties in with the energy of the rune that's happening at the moment. So this is a rune of man in balance, connecting, between the worlds. So it's a rune of the individual, but it's also a rune about community and understanding your place within community. And the Anglo-Saxon rune poem, I'll just read it to you. It's not very happy. The joyous man is dear to his kinsman, yet every man is doomed to fail his fellows, since the Lord by his decree will commit the vile carrion to the earth. Jolly one that, isn't it? But this also makes us realise that our time upon this earth is very fleeting, is very transient. And it's true that the older you get, the quicker that time goes, without a doubt. And as soon as you have children, your time just flies by. But it's about actually understanding that your time is passing. So make the most of it. Make the most of every moment of every day if you can, because it's passing and it will pass quickly. That is the nature of being human. Our time is limited, and we need to try to ascend ourselves and fulfill our soul's purpose in the time that we have on this earth. That is Mannaz.
Gone very Glastonbury on us.
Have I? Oh dear, I'm sorry.
No, it's great.
I didn't mean to. I hope I haven't gone fluffy.
No, I think you were really inspired. It was really good to hear you talk about that.
Good.
Yeah,
obviously the Mannaz energy flowed to me at that moment.
No, it was very inspiring.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you, Carolina. What have you got for us today?
Well, hello, I'm back today.
Yes, she's back. You weren't here last time, were you? Life's been really manic recently.
It has been. Yeah, lots of things going on. But yes, I'm glad to be here, and hopefully I'll bring you something of interest today. It's interesting that you were talking about the moon. You mentioned the moon and the mind. So I'm going to talk about the mind as well. Not so much about the divine mind, but the intellectual mind, which I guess, they're kind of complementary.
Yeah, we've got a helicopter as well today.
Yes.
Anyone would think we're on a flight path.
Yeah. It's kind of very loud, so I'm just going to give it time to go past.
We wanted ravens, we got air traffic.
Yeah, gosh. Yes, so talking about the intellectual mind in a way, but also that, there is elements of intuition and the divine mind within what I'm going to talk about. Today we've got the moon conjunct Mars in Gemini, which, as you may know, Gemini rules the mind, communication, community, networking. So in a way, it kind of ties in with what Shæryn was talking about today. Man, community, and that ability to connect with other people. So today we've got plenty of mental energy, sharp intuition. The mind is really quick. We come up with lots of different plans because moon connected to Mars can be quite focused and sharp, and you know what you want, and you know how to go and get it. However, it's important to focus all these abilities in the right direction. Because moon in Gemini can be quite scattered, lots of different things pop up, everywhere, and you don't really know where to turn to. So
feels like how this week's been for me, really.
Yeah. This last couple of weeks I felt very Gemini, actually. Lots of different things going on, and you don't really know which direction to go to. So that's the energy that we have today. So the energy has shifted from. We had a new moon on Wednesday the 26th, so a new moon in Taurus, which is an earth sign. So all that groundedness, all that perseverance and things being done in a slow, considerate way, that shift has, it's changed. It has shifted into Gemini, which is an air sign. So lots and lots of different things going on at the same time. Activities favoured today by the moon are networking,
Well, that's good for me then.
Socializing, which is
Yeah.
excellent for you. I think you've chosen a really, really good day to open your exhibition, because it's about the community coming together,
Yeah.
sharing something which is creative, which of course your paintings are, and it's kind of to do with writing and teaching as well in the more academic side of Gemini and Mercury, but it's definitely more than one thing at a time being done. However, there's another plane coming. This is becoming a bit silly.
We've been inundated today.
We have. Sorry about this, folks.
Yeah, what are they up to?
There's another helicopter actually. Yeah.
Peaceful Glastonbury.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Lots of things going on at the same time. Air.
Yes.
So yeah. The downside of the moon being in Gemini is that it can be quite restless. So things like insomnia, feeling a bit anxious and not knowing where to go might be the downside of the moon for the next couple of days. And if you have your natal moon in Gemini, then you might find it quite hard to go to sleep. So just bear with it. Try to relax, meditate, and just go with the energy of the moon. It will soon pass. However, as I said before, Mercury is also linked to this moon in Gemini, because Mercury rules Gemini, so therefore Mercury is ruling this moon. Mercury, as you know, is retrograde in Aries, so we don't exactly know what the next step is, even though Aries is a sign of action, of wanting to do things. Try not to start anything, at least until Mercury has gone direct next week on the 3rd of May, which is also a waxing moon. Okay, so and that coincides with things starting to grow, things becoming a little bit more clear, details being finalized. So if you kind of wait until then things will become a lot more clear.
So I've got a drum to paint next week. You think I should wait till the 3rd?
I would say so, because in the meantime you're still getting kind of, things downloaded. You were saying about that connection between the mind and the gods, and that's very very like Mercury. Mercury is called the messenger of the gods. So it was the only gods that had the permission and the ability to go between worlds, to bring messages from the gods and bring them down. So I would say maybe just give it a few more days and see what else comes into mind and what you can add to that painting. The other thing that's important about today is that Venus is going direct. So Venus is in Pisces, but has been retrograde for the last few weeks. So Venus went into Aries on the 3rd of February. So back then, if you're a bit like me and write down what's going on the day energetically, you could kind of pinpoint what was going on back then in terms of finances, relationships, friendships, also creativity. Then Venus went retrograde, so that meant that perhaps there were issues with loss of finances, problems with relationships, ups and downs perhaps, but now that's all about to move on as Venus goes direct today. So during Venus retrograde, then the planet made a conjunction to Chiron, which is the wounded healer, and I talked about this a lot on our second podcast, AWAS, so check that out. But Chiron is about healing, so you would have had the opportunity to access a form of healing, which is always really good, as you can deal with situations in a better way. Venus is square Saturn as well, which has perhaps caused stresses in relationships due to negative feelings, being too hard on yourself, too critical, but that's just all about to ease up. So things are becoming lighter, easier, and definitely, the energy is moving on, is shifting. And finally, the other important transit of today is Mercury conjunct Uranus in Aries, of course. And this can give kind of a really restless, erratic energy as well. But also lots of flashes of intuition. So that's really available to us now. So that's why I was saying, perhaps just wait a bit to start painting your drum. So this transit brings mental stimulation, favors originality, creativity, as I said, flashes of intuition, and it's also particularly good to explore astrology. If you're interested in astrology and always wanted to know what it's all about and get into it, it's an excellent transit for doing that, because Uranus rules astrology. So that's a really good chance to do that. Thinking about out of the box, because Uranus is quirky, it's original, it's different. Technology is also really favoured by this transit. Doing things creative with technology. But also communications can be interrupted or a bit unpredictable, because that's the nature of Uranus. So yes, that's it from me today.
Okay, shall we grab the drum and do some Galdr?
Yeah, let's do it. So hopefully we won't have any more planes or helicopters going past. It's all gone a little bit quiet now.
4.
Yeah,
that's just ridiculous.
That's that has to be
the record.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the record.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not one I'm hoping to beat at any point soon. Okay. Right, so we're going to now chant the rune Mannaz and send those Mannaz vibes out into Glastonbury and away on the ley lines. Here we go.
Yeah.
How did you find that?
Just noticing how easy it was to fall into the Mannaz flow.
Yeah.
It's an easy kind of. It just flows really easily. The
does,
way to
doesn't it?
chant
Yeah.
it just flows nicely around your mouth.
Again, I could kind of, as has happened to us sometimes before, it sounded like there was more than just you and I chanting. It kind of seemed to have a kind of a resonance about it and kind of a fullness, if that makes sense. It kind of, I could feel a lot of kind of, almost like, I could feel a lot of energy around this area.
Yeah.
And almost like a balancing of energy. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's always hard to describe these kind of experiences.
Yeah, no,
isn't it?
I can still feel it here,
Yeah,
such an energy here, but of course this is kind of the mind, isn't it, and the connection with the higher self, if you want to call it higher self, or with the gods, with something greater than you anyway.
Yeah. Source.
Yeah.
Not the stuff you put on your chips. Sorry. I couldn't help that. Anyway, right. So we hope there's another one.
Yes.
It's another helicopter. I honestly don't believe this. It's the day of helicopters. And planes. Well, on that note, we will leave you, and please subscribe. We'll be back soon for Laguz. And please subscribe if you like what you've seen. Give us a thumbs up. We always welcome those. We welcome your comments. It's always good to hear from you. And check out our new podcast. We've now done 2 episodes. That's AstroRunicast, which you can find on iTunes or our website. And we will be back soon enough. Hopefully life will have become a little less manic by then.
And I just wanted to say, if you're in Glastonbury for the next month or so, then do come and support Shæryn. Her art is really, really worth looking at. It's absolutely beautiful. So you're in for a treat.
My exhibition's on till the 30th of May at Blue Cedar, which is on Silver Street in Glastonbury. So
yes,
brilliant.
And have a lovely Beltane as well.
Yep.
We shall be partaking in the celebrations ourselves.
Probably, dancing with the dragons and all the other strange things that go on in Glastonbury. And we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.